What's going on, everyone? So earlier today, the Boston Celtics and the San Antonio Spurs made a move where Boston is going to send Noah Vonleh to the San Antonio Spurs in exchange for cash consideration. It's so Boston can clear a roster spot for a potential trade, buyout market, maybe one of these 10-day contracts that teams can now give out, as well as the San Antonio Spurs. They get another, nice, sizable big, and in doing so, they're going to now waive Gorgui Dieng, and he is a guy that is not. He's not going to stand out. He's not going to, jump out of the charts for you. But he is a guy that he's 33 years old. He's got good size still at 6'10", and he's a guy that could potentially come in and make an impact, right? The Lakers need size. He can play the power forward or the center spot because of his floor spacing. He is known as a stretch big. It's kind of what he's built his foundation on. This year, he's shooting around 30% from three, which isn't great, but he's taking under one attempt per game, and he isn't playing much. So he's only played 13 games for the Spurs, and he's only played roughly 11, just under 12 minutes per game, and he's only getting about like 3 shot attempts per game. In those 3 shot attempts, he's getting about 41%. So they're not really like utilizing. We've seen him have better years, better seasons in the past, and a guy that can stretch the floor. I mean, his best year was in like 2015. He averaged 10 points per game. But for the most part, he's a rotational big that comes in, gives you about 10 to 15 minutes per game, and that's what you're looking at. Now, he has a career minutes played of 20 minutes, but at this point, he's somewhere in like the 15-minute range. But he's a guy that can rebound. He's a guy that can block shots. He's a guy that can just spread the floor, knock it down from the mid-range, knock it down from three-point range, do multiple things on the court. He's a guy that could be a nice kind of fit in a different type of look, a veteran presence at the center position, which the Lakers could really use. Yes, it's nice to have Thomas Bryant out there in his size, and then of course you got Winnie and Gabriel and stuff, but just to have a guy that's been there, that's been in playoff games, that is just a sizable big, he could come in and kind of take the minutes that Damian Jones was supposed to be getting for this team. Now, personally, if I'm being honest, I still like Hassan Whiteside better. I think Hassan Whiteside, they're same age, but I think Hassan Whiteside gives you more athleticism. I think he gives you better rebounding and better shot blocking. I think he's a better answer. Now, there's nothing wrong with Jane, in my opinion. I think you could go and get him. Like, if the Lakers sign him tomorrow, I won't be upset. He's a guy that could definitely get and deserve a 10-day contract. But I feel like Hassan Whiteside would plug that need that we have a lot more. I think he's a guy that he'd provide more consistency in the same amount of minutes, although he doesn't have the shooting and can't stretch the floor the way that Jane can. Now, we've seen Hassan Whiteside knock down a 3 here and there in his career, but it's not a guy like that you want shooting a bunch of threes, right? He's not some dead-eye shooter. Where Jane, he's a guy that he's had games where he's knocked down 3 or 4 threes in a row. So that is something that the Lakers could very well weigh. Many people want DeMarcus Cousins. I think Jane gives you kind of that same element of DeMarcus Cousins, just without some of the liabilities, right? The injury proneness, just the not being able to really guard, and just kind of being a big body that's just kind of plopped down low now because he doesn't really have the movement or quickness anymore. That I think that this would be kind of in the light of that. Also, just like Hassan Whiteside, this is a guy that you could play next to Anthony Davis when Anthony Davis returns, right? You could play Jane at the center, play AD at the 4, or vice versa. This is also a center that you could play next to Thomas Bryant. You could play either of them at the 5, either of them at the 4, and really give you some size. So, I think it's just a nice veteran guy that could come in. He has chemistry with Pat Bev. He's played with Pat Bev before. And it's just, again, it gives you a little veteran stability. And it gives you a guy like he's not my favorite on the list, if I'm being honest, but I think he's worth a look, right? It doesn't hurt. And Hassan Whiteside might still be there, right? I don't think teams are rushing to the door to go give Hassan Whiteside a 10-day contract. So you got to wait for Dieng to get bought out, and then he has to clear the waivers and all that stuff. And then once he clears everything, then the Lakers can maybe pick him up. So that's something that could be a real possibility. Maybe sign him to a non-guaranteed deal or give him 10-day or something. But also, is there going to be competition for him? You know, a nice veteran big man. So you're going to need a little pushing from him. Like, would he want to come to the Lakers and kind of play in sparing minutes? Maybe there's another team that could give him more minutes, right? Like, say a team like the Brooklyn Nets. The Brooklyn Nets could use another center, another guy with size, right? So maybe he would get more burn, more playing time with the Brooklyn Nets, and that's a team that is just, they're in a better position currently than the Lakers are. So that's something else that could be in mind. But if he is a guy that could and wants to come to the Lakers, I think it's worth giving it a shot, right? Again, play next to Anthony Davis. He could play independent of Anthony Davis. He could just be a solid backup big that could kind of give you what you were hoping for with Damian Jones. A guy comes in, plays 10-plus minutes a game, is a floor spacer that teams have to step out and challenge, that can give you some rebounding, give you some shot blocking, give you just a solid role in the rotation. And he's a guy that, yeah, I mean, he's built that reputation as a solid role player. He started in some cases, he backed up in other cases. You know, I mean, he had for Minnesota, he had that one season where he played all 82 games and started all 82 games. So that's in and of itself is a great accomplishment. Asking him to be a dominant, you know, they're not asking him to be the next Anthony Davis, right? They're not even asking him to be Miles Turner. He's a guy that's going to come in, he's going to get a limited role, probably play 10-plus minutes a game with the Lakers, and just kind of be a plug-and-play guy. I don't think it's a terrible move. Again, and maybe it's just me, I just look at Whiteside, and yes, I understand all the ego, I understand that he's not the best locker room guy and all that stuff, but not playing this year, not getting picked up by any team, and him still being a talented player and still proving even last year that he can be a solid contributor, right? I mean, in the same amount of minutes, he basically doubled all of Dieng's stats, right? So, like, he's a guy that could come in and really make an impact on the Lakers. I just think that maybe he got a piece of humble pie and you give him an opportunity, right? I just do, but Dieng is not going to be a bad backup option, right? Like, I wouldn't, like, if they got him and Mo Harkless, like, tomorrow, I wouldn't be disappointed, right? I mean, granted, again, we got to wait for him to clear waivers. We got to wait for him to go through that whole process. But, I mean, if he does end up getting picked up by the Lakers, I don't think that I wouldn't be mad about it. I just don't think he's going to move the needle in any real way. Like, I don't think he's a guy that's going to come in and, again, he's basically average. He's a 7-point-a-game guy, right? Now, maybe if given a better role, and maybe with Russell Westbrook, because that's another thing too, right? Russ has really helped these big men thrive, right? Anthony Davis, Wenyen Gabriel, Thomas Bryant. Maybe Russell Westbrook could make this guy a 10-point-a-game guy, right? And to be fair, we don't need a center to come in and give more. We don't need a guy, like, if he comes in and gave us like 10 points a game, like, what more do we need? Even at 8 points a game, even 7 or 8 points a game as a backup, right? That's not bad, right? I'm not saying that it's necessarily a bad thing, but in 11 minutes, he's averaged, again, 4 points per game. He's given you about 2.5 rebounds, 3 rebounds, 3.2 rebounds is true rebounding, and he's given 2 assists. So in that limited time with the Spurs and the Spurs offense, so that's good. So I mean, he's passing the ball well and giving you half a block a game. So he's a big body that can adjust and make teams have to adjust for shooting. A guy that is not going to demand a bunch of volume shooting wise. Again, he's only taken just under 4 attempts per game. He's knocking down 1.5 per game, so he's shooting 41.7%, which isn't ideal. And then he's shooting about 2.5 attempts from 3 per game, and he's making just under 1, so he's shooting 30% from 3. So this is a guy that's going to come in. He shoots 75% from the free throw line, so maybe with him and Russ, maybe they could build some chemistry, run that pick and roll. I don't think he's a guy that's going to really cause any pushback. I don't think he's going to cause any rumblings. Like, that's the concern with Hassan Whiteside, right? is you get Hassan Whiteside. He comes in, he thinks he's Anthony Davis, and you get a little bit of those shock waves that could disrupt the team and the roster and stuff. Where Dieng is not going to do that. He's going to come in. He's going to be, that veteran presence, that veteran guy, the guy that has gone through it all, that understands it. He's a guy that's easily made a home. He hasn't been like that much of a journeyman, right? I mean, he's played on basically the same 4 teams, right? He played on Minnesota for several years, went to Toronto, I believe, and then Memphis and San Antonio, if I'm not mistaken. I believe those are the teams that he's like kind of fluctuated on, and kind of gone back and forth between Minnesota and various other teams. But I don't know. Again, it's not my favorite choice, but it's worth a look, and we'll see. We'll see how he goes. If he can come in, give us 8 points, 4 rebounds a game, and 10 minutes per game. A guy that can start next to Anthony Davis. A guy that can start, play alongside Thomas Bryant, whatever. Maybe Russell Westbrook can kind of get him going and get him in the groove of things. Guy that could, play some solid defense down low, block some shots, just change some direction. He's a guy that, you can even play him next to Winning Gabriel, right? Because he can spread the floor. So that helps too. Him and Winning Gabriel's energy, just high energy guy, good motor. That could be something that could really help. The only playing 13 games this season. If I'm not mistaken, I believe some of those games were just DNPs, but some of them I believe were injuries. So that's something else to keep in mind. But I don't know. I don't think it's the end of the world. But I pass the question on to you as always. This is a discussion, so I want to hear. I want to know what your thoughts and opinions are. Do you think the Lakers should give him a shot, take a look at it? Do you think no? Let's look at Hassan Whiteside, a Derek Favors, or somebody like that. Or do you have somebody else in mind, or should we wait and see if maybe something else like this comes arise, right? Instead of like a Celtics, like another similar Celtics deal, or maybe another team buys out like a veteran big, because I would personally kind of like a veteran big, just a guy, especially come playoff time. This is a guy that has the experience that can help. But that's just my thoughts and opinions. Again, I'd love to hear yours. Let me know however you feel, good, bad, ugly, somewhere between, down in the comments below.